Communicating with one another can feel so challenging and so daunting. But you know what? If you're working with the language of spirit and speaking through love, anything's possible.
Let's find out today how.
Hey, Tom.
Hello, Teresa.
Okay, so let's talk about communication because you and I communicate pretty well, I would say, overall, wouldn't you say?
Except for when we don't.
Except for when we don't. But man, moving out into the world, it can be challenging.
It sure can, especially with, the way people think about things. And, one of the topics had in my mind recently was the different ways we express how we're experiencing the same thing. So when I get approached, like how I relate to what you're talking about is if I'm talking to somebody with a heavy scientific background, let's say, and I want to talk about spiritual things, sometimes they can use big words or words that I'm not quite familiar with. And I go, what the heck are they talking about? But I found if I tune into my sensitivity and I ask my guidance to back me and tune into my guidance, I can understand just about anything people are talking about. I used to really find this in business a lot, where I'd be talking to, say, an executive and someone that would be talking about a topic, say finance or something, that I was a bit baffled by, or some technical, business terms. And at first I'd be like, I don't know what they're talking about. But when I learned to just tune into my guidance and my true feelings, like tune into that sensitivity, I always refer that as to my true feelings, as opposed to react to, what they're saying. I often was able to comprehend, what they were talking about, especially as I trusted my first impressions. Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, definitely. But I guess what I want to kind of share about is lately, I've been meeting with a lot of people in the local Des Moines area, coffee and just meeting other people has been wonderful. Mm-hmm. And several of them lately, and I mean, literally several of them have the first question that I sit down in front of them and they ask me is, in my perspective, what is my meaning, or what do I think about God? How does God and fit into what I believe? And I recognize pretty quickly that they're a more religious based person. So, and to me, and through the language of spirit, it's all the same. Okay, like God is spirit, universe, source. You can call it this great central sun, whatever the heck you want to call it. It's all the same. But we all speak the same language, but it's really what's behind that sometimes can feel a little weird. I know we have a really good example from we went to a church over Christmas for a Christmas cantata because Tom's a drummer, and one of his friends was drumming in this beautiful cantata. So we said, hey, we'll go. And so my perspective of this and being, the language of love, language of spirit, is that we're all of us are moving in there with love. I felt it. We moved into the church. It was a beautiful, really large church, gorgeous. The people, I could feel, everyone's here for love. And yes. Then, they started they had a little sermon before, which they showed this video, and this video was like, it was so bad. It was like, of all the things in the world right now that are going bad, like the Middle East and the border and, and homelessness. And I mean, it went on and on, and I could feel fear, anxiety. And so, that's a part of, how do we communicate with one another through our energy and through our, our messages, and how it can shift sometimes. And at that point, I was like, my God, I don't feel like I don't resonate with this at all. And the communication felt really weird to me. How did it feel to you, Tom?
Well, I relate. I could feel the concern that people had, and I could feel the support, for everybody's situation. And there was this point, though, where it kind of turned into, shall I say it, fear mongering,
Yeah.
And so you better donate and you better keep coming because there's chaos out there, and, you need something outside of yourself to help you through this. And there's a positive message there too. It's just how I want to take it. It's just that I'd rather think in terms of solutions, and that sometimes from a spiritual perspective, the troubles that other people are going through, they've attracted those troubles, and there's something they're going to learn from them. Now, that's not to say I wouldn't help somebody that needed help. I mean, I really believe in love and service and all that, to the point where there's a sincere need. And we've shared about that on some other episodes. And the best way for me to determine that is to just really work with my inner, sensitivity, what I call my inner guidance system, which is basically my true feelings, and my sensitivities, which is those 4 ways that I perceive impressions, and tune into that inner wisdom. If I look at it from a soul's perspective, it's like trying to save somebody that is an alcoholic. That you try, and then there's this point where they have this epiphany, where they realize themselves they need to do something, and so they do it. And they really end up saving themselves, you might say, so I'm a big believer in, providing support to people. But, also I find that we tend to argue over semantics, and people will manipulate us with words as well. And I guess that's what we're talking about, is that, the manipulation may be well-meaning, but it's manipulation nonetheless.
I disagree on that. There's a lot of manipulation out there in the media, especially, that's not well-meaning.
Well, that's
about
true.
Control. That's about, hey, how can I get my perspective only to all you people out there who those are listening or watching on, on TV or whatever. So yeah, I think there's a lot of manipulation going on with through communication, and not with love.
Yeah.
I'll just say that, not with love.
Well, and I suppose, what strikes me is if there is a loving basis, if that positive, loving feeling, for example, there's probably other words for love, like creative, enthusiasm, respectful, positive. Did I say positive already?
No, you didn't. But you know what? I want to go back to this, being manipulated. So the confusion around, words and communication and like during the pandemic, and, all the things that happened during the first few months, first few years of all of that chaos, that was really just created more and more fear, more and more anxiety. So people would not listen to their inner guidance, would not listen to their inner wisdom, or trust what they're feeling. So for myself, when all that started, the communication that I got from my inner communication system, my gut feeling was, there is something not right here. And I am not going there with the situation, because I felt it completely. And so
you're very sensitive.
Very sensitive. And I trusted that. And so, what's really come to me too about all this with communication is, we've been through so much in the last few years. And again, I say this quite often, but, in history, we're always going through things. We're always going through experiences of learning and growing, communicating. How do we interact with one another? But this is big, people, because with all this AI stuff coming in, the key aspect of what's going to be missing in the AI is true feelings and trusting your
Beautiful.
gut.
Excellent points. So I've utilized AI a bit, to in our podcast, where it's amazing, the way that it can summarize things. But I always find, to really get the feeling of what I'm sharing across, I have to change it. The AI doesn't really get what we're talking about, you might say, or it doesn't have a feeling for it. So to me, that's where the language of spirit is, speaking through love, or speaking through feelings is another way of saying it, or another aspect, another way of looking at it.
Right.
From different angles.
And when someone's not speaking through love, you can feel it. Absolutely. Like when I'm talking about with the pandemic, like when crap was coming down, I felt it. I'm like, that's not right. I think that's a lie for myself. I'm not going there. So, that's really key is feeling what's coming through communication with others. And back to the church situation, as they were communicating all this fear stuff going on, I didn't relate to it, because I'm like, that's that's not a communication of love. Like when I walked into the place and it felt really great, and then all of a sudden the energy changed. Now, let me tell you though, when the cantata started and they actually started singing and playing music, then the energy did change back, and I felt it then. So that was really good. But
yeah, so we've been, programmed in our society. And just look at YouTube videos. I mean, the headlines that grab you are the fearful headlines. And so apparently the way our brains work, the way our intellect works, which is our brain, which is in this physical body, which we don't take with us, it goes back to dust. But the way that intellect has been programmed is, and, from, you might even say through evolution, is to react more quickly to a fearful situation than it is the other. So for me, in my opinion, like what I feel about it as part of my self-mastery is allowing that soul essence that I have, or that love, and trusting that love and that backing. Somewhere along the line, we forget that, or we forgot that, or it's all part of it. I don't know. I guess it's just part of the evolution. I don't really know, but I know a good solution for me is to listen with my feelings and then discern what I'm feeling, So what I hear you saying is, and this has often happened for me, where something doesn't feel right about that. What am I picking up? And then I get a word for that or a thought for that. And then I might look into it a bit more, get some facts. And then, or I take some action, or I communicate, or I ask a question. That's action, asking a question or looking into something, and then I come back to my feelings, and then I get another interpretation of my feelings, or that discernment. And then over time, my discernment gets even sharper, that I don't have to do so many rotations through feeling, organizing, and acting. It just, as I get experience as a soul, it's more apparent. And I want to bring that up because from a spiritual perspective, I didn't pick up on what you picked up on at the time, but I know you're super sensitive. And I have to say, this is one area where you were so right. It kills me. I mean,
no, it doesn't kill you, Tom.
Doesn't kill me. It didn't kill me. Yeah. And your sensitivity has, I'll always pay attention to what you share in terms of your sensitivity, because you really,
it may be a little outlandish.
Yeah, when it might be outlandish, and many people have those experiences, so it's not that unusual. And anyway, that the whole key is trusting our sensitivity. Oh, what I wanted to share was, you've probably been through that before, or an area like an insight might be, check, have you had a past life or some past lives where you've been led astray before, and you spot that energy quickly.
Well, I'll say a big H yes to that.
H yes.
That's why I said that, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom
yes.
said I can't curse anymore. I don't curse at all. I said
no
one F-bomb a couple episodes ago, and Tom is like, never again. So I'm being really good, and I normally don't cuss that much, but anyway.
No.
But what I want
it depends on what you think is that much, but never mind.
Oh, Thomas. The thing
she was in the Air Force, folks. So
yeah, you know what? When I was in the Air Force, I was like a guy. Yeah, I cussed a lot and drank a lot. That was
you were like a guy. Oh, that's another episode that we just did. Yeah, never mind.
That's another episode.
Yeah.
What I want to share about communication is from like where I'm at now, and my understanding and my staying relaxed with situations around me, especially in communications, is that, so say like at the church situation where I was at when I was feeling into what they were presenting in this video and how I didn't resonate with it, I stayed really relaxed. Now, a couple of years ago, I may have been triggered, and I may have said, F-bomb this, I'm out of here. It was seriously, because it was really intense. And so, I really want to talk.
So you might say you've been manipulated by fear before, and you feel intense about it. See, where I was relaxed about it, I go, that's interesting that they jumped to that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to get across is that whenever we communicate with one another, if we have that anger, if we have that fear, or we have that emotion come up around the situation, you're not going to be able to communicate very clearly with others.
Good point.
right?
Absolutely.
Because even Tom and I have that crap going on. Oh, I said crap. We have that going on too, where sometimes if, we're spiritual, we live this life, everyone, but we do go through stuff. And so when we do, there are times when, we get a little heated. And we have a challenge communicating, but we get through it very quickly because we understand how to, do our cleansing technique, which we've talked about, and we can actually put a link in the comments below if
Yes.
Tom remembers. Put a link in
We
the
have
comment below.
we have a couple of episodes on our YouTube channel,
Yeah, that
TNT
you can check
Spirit
that
Works, and we do. Teresa does one, I do one, and there's one where she's doing at a beautiful location. She's showing you how to cleanse when we were in Australia a couple years ago.
But back to communicating.
But back to communication.
Squirrel. So really, I have different, ways now that I can stay relaxed and get through things, which, I'm hoping a lot of you out there, listeners may have ways too that you, through the years with wisdom, because that's really what it is. Wisdom and tools is gaining insights on how you can stay relaxed in communicating and speaking through love when you're speaking with other people.
Boy, I think that's the big point. I'd like to reiterate that point is that if I'm all caught in emotion, that's not probably the best time to communicate. But if I can come back to myself and get back into my feelings and evaluate, what am I feeling? Or again, discern, a solution or what I'm feeling, then, some of what I'm super emotional about is actually not even the point. It's not even my true concern. It's not even what I'm there for. Sometimes it can be a decoy from, what I'm really there to share with people. But when working with spirit through speaking through love, the language of spirit, that they share with us through our true feelings.
Who is they, Tom?
Spirit,
who are you talking
our
about?
guidance.
Okay, talk a little about guidance because we do mention the word guidance, and I want to make sure that you out there in the listening world know what we're talking about when we're mentioning guides. So go ahead and share a little about your personal team of guidance, Tom.
Yes, and we have some videos. There's a link to some free videos that take you to what's the site? The Thinkific site, and you can watch the series of videos, and we talk more in depth about this. But when I talk about guidance or spiritual helpers, I'm talking about souls that I've contracted with that have mastered the areas that I'm here to master spiritually. And you can think of them as 100% positive. And they're ahead of me. They're ahead of me spiritually, and they're here to back me. And what's great is you can actually establish a two-way communication where you can get yes and no answers. You can get keywords. You can get insights into situations. And when we practice this cleansing technique that we use, and once you've learned how to work with your guidance, we do a profile, do some consultations that show people how to work with their guidance, then it's very freeing because you can always go back to them and ask, what the heck are they talking about?
Yeah, and I want to clarify a little bit about that too.
Okay.
So when Tom mentions, that you contracted with these guys before you came in, so these are souls. So it's not like, a deceased soul that has passed on that you know of. It's not like Mother Mary, Jesus, Archangel Michael, all these other ascended, angels. These are souls that have actually been on the planet and they've done and mastered what you are here to do and experience. So like one of my guides, it was in India in his previous incarnation. So he's here to help me communicate as I move around the world and talk to other people and communicate. So that's who they are. They are, and we all have between one and some have quite a few more. It depends on what you're here to do as to how many helpers you've actually brought in with you. Now, this is not to say that you are not still working with Jesus or Mother Mary or aliens or whatever you want to work with, because, they come in to support too. But these are truly your personal team that love back and support you and know what you are here to do. So I just wanted to clarify that because that's a big difference is that these are souls that have been on the planet. So like even us, like we can master what we're doing and then maybe we don't come back and maybe we are guides for other people that, and back and support what we have mastered that other people need help with. Who knows?
Yeah, because anyway, I found it to be very practical. And I've been working with my guidance ever since I was a young man. And we've talked about my background in electrical engineering, serving as an FBI agent for a while in the 80s and being a businessman and running my own consulting company, as well as doing this sort of work for decades. When I'm working with spirit, though, I can be a healing influence in any environment that I'm in. So if I'm tuning into that language of love and I'm picking up those insights through my 4 spiritual gifts, the prophecy, inner knowings, intuition, which is that clairaudient, still small voice within, vision, which is that clairvoyant part, and feeling, which is just those gut feelings, that's how spirit communicates.
Right.
And from that positive perspective, so it's been a great tool for me. Again, get in contact with us if you're interested in a profile. I do them. And if you live in a different part of the country, we have other folks we can put you in touch with. So getting back to that. Communicating. So if I'm, one thing, if I'm talking to a scientific person and they start talking about quantum physics and now the possibility of parallel universes, and they talk about 4th and 5th dimensions, and they do the math and they go, wow, this is possible. There really is possible that there's these 4th dimensions and 5th dimensions, and we only perceive 3. And there's some great YouTube videos on things like that, which give you hints as to how it might really work. I can't say that I get it all, but, or that my intellect comprehends it all. But so they're now talking from that perspective. So even let's go to UFOs, like now there's this, a thrust where the idea of UFOs or extraterrestrials is becoming, to the fore, to the point where Congress is having hearings galore. There's fellows testifying about all kinds of programs that have been going on in the government, and people have been sharing about this for a long time, their experience. So there's folks who say they channel extraterrestrials or beings from other places. So, I don't know where you are with all that. I think there's something to it. I don't think that it negates or just discounts anything else that I've already believed to be true, because if there's multidimensional beings and they exist in what we consider a different dimension, well, I'm not saying I understand it completely, but I'm open to the idea. So if someone wants to say that, their higher source is an extraterrestrial that they're tuning into and they're channeling positive, loving wisdom, I go, well, I'm all for that. I'm all for the positive, loving wisdom. I'm going to, how we define who our spiritual guides are and how someone else defines who their spiritual guides are might be 2 different ways of saying the same thing, or coming at it from a different school of thought, from a different angle. So like I had said earlier, when we talk about our intellect and our feelings,
Yeah, well, don't go too far down that way yet. Okay. No. I want to go back to the alien thing. So
aliens.
So maybe, I don't know, it was 2 years ago, Tom and I went to Dr. Stephen Greer weekend experience, who is all about connecting with love of all things, with beings on other realms. And he's done this for decades. There's all kinds of stuff on the internet and YouTube about him. And so we are like, let's go. We were guided to go. And so as he was communicating a lot of information, a lot of things that like, what and wow, and I don't understand that. The thing that
it's pretty confronting, some of the things he was telling us at the time.
Because it's all new to us. It was like almost like, learning a different language and a different realm. But the thing about the communication, which we're trying to really get forth in this episode about speaking through love, is that we had experiences that weekend that we felt. In the sense of, there were some meditations when we felt energy. We went out into a place where we did a what is it called? What we did, the event, the CE5, which is basically contact extraterrestrial. What does CE5 stand for? It's going to the 5th dimension that's what it's really about.
It's as opposed to the Close encounter.
That's it. Close Encounters 5. Yeah.
Close encounter type 1, type 2, type 3.
Yeah.
So close encounter 5 is more in a spiritual dimension, what we refer to as spiritual. So that's another thing that always grabs me, is that, or I'm becoming more and more aware of, like what we call spiritual. Well, now physicists are saying there's parallel universes. So, I mean, it's part of reality. It's just a way of communicating the unseen, event, you might say.
So at this, can I finish?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Please finish.
Please finish. So at this event, this is really kind of cool. So that's why I want to share it. So at this event, we are outside in the middle of the desert near Phoenix. And there was like 500-600 of us. And, like nothing appeared. I mean, Tom had some feelings he felt some things around us. And I did get a picture of like something in the sky, but the feeling, and most people that were there experienced a feeling, a resonance of love, a resonance of another dimension that was beyond this 3, 4, 5, or well, actually 3 or 4,
3.
I guess. Well,
we're in 3.
Well, 3, but some people say 3 to 4, but who knows? Whatever. That's a whole other
3 to 4.
That's a whole other episode. We have to do some research on that, so we're not going there today. But what I'm just trying to share is that with this extraterrestrial thing is that we felt it. Like I felt it, Tom felt it, and it was love. And so however you resonate with that, that's your business. But we just wanted to share that. In communication, as Stephen Greer was sharing a lot of scientific things and over our head things, we felt the love that he was also trying to share with us around connecting with extraterrestrials. That's what I want to say. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because he shares about, working with those beings, in my view, they're just souls in a different sort of body. They're in some sort of extraterrestrial body, and maybe they've got more experience in other places and all that. So, but it was working through, working with that psychic part of us, those either from a meditation point of view or picking up impressions or telepathy. And, they talk about these UFO experiences and the extraterrestrial that's speaking with, the military people and so forth. They're saying, well, it was like telepathic, it didn't really use language. So, we may be onto something here on planet Earth where we're evolving into this area. But, I don't really get too, it's fun to think about. It's fun to find out about. It was interesting because Dr. Greer, some of the things that he claims, I was like, what? Huh? How could that be? They've known forever and they have been hiding it. Oh my God. And then he had all these great examples and all this research. And it took me a while to catch up to where he is, because he'd been doing it for over 30 years, and he started one step at a time. And, he kept having experiences, not only with he had some experience with extraterrestrials early on, but then as he moved along his path, he discovered, all kinds of things. And you go check out his YouTube channel and you'll hear some of his interviews. If you search for him on YouTube, you'll get the lowdown.
So how does this relate to the language of spirit?
How does it relate to the language of spirit is just that I think spirit is very inclusive and the universe is a very benevolent place.
Bingo. I like it.
So when coming into, things that I'm not that familiar with intellectually, I really just have to tune into my feelings. And my true feelings will kind of allow me to, a lot of that wisdom's already there.
So yeah, I guess this is a good place to kind of to wind this up. Wind it up, wind it down.
But this is so much fun talking about extraterrestrials and spirit.
So yeah.
I think in my final comment was that one idea doesn't necessarily negate or disprove another idea, from a big picture spiritual point of view. And maybe I'll even jump into, now there's folks that will say that some of the things in the Bible, some of the stories might have been UFOs. And I don't really know if they were or weren't. I've never really taken the time to delve into it. My focus every day is more about me and what am I here to do and my life experience. So I find it entertaining, and I think it's like anything, whatever you really, if you want to delve into it, it's all there to delve into.
Of course it is.
But it's not necessarily different than what I'm sharing.
Right.
The possibilities in the universe are probably pretty amazing.
And that's what I want to end on. I want to end on just keeping in the perspective, everyone, that when you're communicating with people that maybe you don't understand, or they're saying things that you're like, what? Feel into what they're feeling. Does it feel right for you? Does it not feel right for you? Are they speaking through love? And if they aren't,
that's a good one. Are they speaking through love?
Are they speaking through love? And if not, maybe it's not meant for you to hear. And that, goes back to, like I said, a couple of years back when people weren't speaking through love. I'm like, no, that's not love. So
yeah, and it's a feeling that
it's a feeling.
Speaking through love is the feeling of love is there, rather than an intellectual concept about love.
Right. So we hope, guys, that today
we'll let you chew on that one between the now and the next episode.
Well, we hope that you understood our communication. And we hope that you felt into our love for sharing with you. And just want to give great thanks for all of you out there who are listening, who are sharing our episodes with others, and who are also watching on our TNT Spiritworks YouTube channel. We appreciate you so very much, and appreciate the opportunity to come and communicate with you again.
Thank you for letting us share.
And so until next week, remember that life is
too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey.